Today I'm announcing my candidacy for governor of Minnesota. My campaign's theme is a better Minnesota. A better Minnesota begins with better leadership. That is the leadership that I will provide. Minnesota faces very serious problems today. Former budget surpluses have been squandered into chronic deficits through Governor Palente's tax breaks, allowing the wealthiest Minnesotans to avoid paying their fair share of taxes. As a result, our public schools, colleges, and universities and essential state and local government services are badly underfunded. Health insurance is unaffordable or unavailable for thousands of Minnesotans, as are prescription drugs for many of our senior citizens. Worst of all, over 215,000 of our fellow citizens are unemployed, and many thousands more are underemployed. When I served as Minnesota's Commissioner of Economic Development for our last great DFL jobs governor, Rudy Perpich, Minnesota was consistently one of the top states for employment growth. Now, after 20 years of 2 Republican governors and a wrestler turned libertarian, Minnesota's economy has declined. Tim Palente's formula of tax breaks for the rich, defunding public education, and destroying essential services has failed. His response, to abandon the state and its problems to pursue his own presidential ambitions, has made matters even worse. It's time for a new governor to lead us in a new and better direction, to the greatness that Minnesotans deserve. I will be that governor who will devote all of my energies to serving the people of this great state and leading us toward a better Minnesota.
All right.
I was born and raised here. My family, with the help of thousands of our fellow Minnesotans, built the Dayton's department stores into the present Target Corporation. I'm sorry that my father is unable to be here today. However, I'm joined by my son Eric, of whom I'm so very, very proud, and his fiancee, Corey Ehler. My younger son Andrew is away at law school, but he too is with me in spirit. I chose a career of public service. After college, I taught in a public school in New York City and then worked for a social service agency. I learned early in life to stand up for my principles by opposing the Vietnam War, which earned me the distinction of being the only Minnesotan named to Richard Nixon's infamous enemies list. For most of the past 35 years, I've served the people of Minnesota. I worked as a legislative aide to our great United States Senator and Vice President Walter Mondale. I'm the only candidate for governor who has ever headed a state agency, and I have led 3 of them, where I was proud to work with dedicated members of AFSCME Council 5, whose endorsement I am so honored to have, along with that of Teamsters Joint Council 32. I served as Minnesota's United States Senator, where I again stood up for my principles and voted against George Bush's Iraq War resolution. I donated my Senate salary to fund bus trips, enabling Minnesota senior citizens to buy cheaper prescription drugs in Canada. And when I'm governor, I will assure that the Minnesota Department of Health is helping all of our citizens to find the lowest cost prescription drugs. As Senator, I established a health care helpline to help Minnesotans receive the health care their doctors prescribe and that their health insurance companies refuse to pay for. As governor, I'll stand up to those profiteering health insurance giants who are reaping billions of dollars of profits by not paying for people's health care, and I'll champion affordable health care for all Minnesotans. As Senator, I also worked with the Minnesota National Guard to obtain the first congressional funding for their pioneering Beyond the Yellow Ribbon program to help returning Iraq and Afghan war veterans and their families with their readjustments into civilian life. Their success has now been expanded into a national program that is helping many thousands of the men and women who have served our country so courageously. I will bring my devotion to serving the people of Minnesota to the office of governor. Like my DFL predecessor, Rudy Perpich, I will be a jobs governor. I will do whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can, to help bring new jobs to our state. Minnesota Republicans are the party of tax cuts for the rich and job cuts for everyone else. To create a strong foundation for our future economic growth, we must reverse their policies of cutting funding for public education and public services. Our well-educated, productive citizens have always been the keys to our success. We must reinvest in better education, which will be the cornerstone for a better Minnesota. I promise that I will increase funding for K-12 public education in real dollars every year I'm governor. No exceptions, no excuses. And I will do my best to lower tuition costs for Minnesota's college students and increase state funding for early childhood education. To invest in better education, I will close tax loopholes and end tax cuts for the rich, whose failure to pay their fair share of taxes has cost state and local governments billions of dollars and raised taxes for the rest of Minnesotans. By the Minnesota Department of Revenue's own analysis, if the wealthiest 10% of taxpayers paid the same percentage of their incomes as everyone else, that would provide an additional $3.8 billion during the current 2 years. I strongly urge the governor and the legislature to balance the present budget deficit by raising taxes on the wealthiest 10% of Minnesotans, not by taking more money away from our public schools, colleges, and universities. Further slashing essential services or denying health care to the poorest Minnesotans. You can read my lips. Tax the rich. As governor, there is much more that I would do to create jobs and to build a better Minnesota. I propose an energy savings fund that would invest in retrofitting state government buildings, installing energy-efficient heating and cooling systems, and using alternative energy to lower their carbon footprints. This energy savings fund would first invest in state government, college, and university buildings, and then, with the repayments from their energy savings, invest in public school and local government buildings. Over the next decade, this energy savings fund would create thousands of jobs for workers in our state buildings trades, reduce our state's energy consumption, save millions of taxpayers' dollars in energy costs, and make Minnesota the national leader in alternative energy innovation. I propose using federal transportation bonds, as many other states are already doing, to invest in more highway construction and transit improvements throughout Minnesota, which will be essential in creating a strong business climate for this century. As governor, I will work with mayors, chambers of commerce, and local economic development committees to redesign and reinvigorate the Star Cities for Economic Development program that was developed statewide during my second term as Economic Development Commissioner. I will be making other job creation proposals during the course of this campaign. I expect many of them to come from my meetings with Minnesota business and civic leaders during my upcoming tour of all of Minnesota's 87 counties. It begins now, and I will be visiting 15 cities and 12 different counties during the next 5 days. A better Minnesota also means, in the words of Renew Minnesota, a state where we embrace inclusion and justice for all. To me, that means a state where we honor our differences as well as our similarities, for they combine to create our collective strength. It means a state where we respect our different nationalities, races, and religions. It means a state where every man and woman can legally marry the person they love. It means a state that passes a long overdue Equal Rights Amendment for women. Minnesota's greatness has always come from the greatness of our people. For almost 2 centuries, men and women have come here from all over the world, and at their best, work together to build the best state in the nation, the best society in the world. If we have slipped recently from that greatness, it has been the failure of our leadership, not our people. I am confident that with new leadership and a new direction, We will recreate Minnesota's greatness, a better Minnesota than ever before. I ask Minnesotans to support my candidacy for governor to lead us to a better Minnesota.